Hello out there.
We're on the air.
It's Rink Moose Talk tonight. The beers are cold.
The mics light up.
And the boys get set to fight. The gloves come off.
Opinions get thrown.
And someone slips on ice. One man howls.
The other scowls.
But the show must go on. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
With hockey flows.
And more shots known.
Pierre Mcguire's life. Not John's a leaf.
Ovechkin's teeth.
And Hoffman's crazy wife. When Carey slumps.
And Bergevin stomps.
Duran's not LaFontaine. Jokes aside,
it's podcast time.
And Rink Moose is the name.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20, the big 2-0 of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, a weekly episodic podcast. What is wrong with you? What now?
Go on.
A weekly episodic podcast where two good friends get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in fantasy hockey. I am one of your hosts, Nick Costu, alongside this rude son of a gun, our consultant out of Vancouver, British Columbia, our World Junior consultant, Kyle Nice.
Wow, Nick. Episode 20. That has got to be a banner episode.
So what's so funny? What are you doing there in Vancouver?
Well, Vancouver, it's nice here, Nick. There's not a lot of cold weather, but we do get a lot of rain. And I'm just here watching some 18-year-olds just play some hockey on the ice. And it's really entertaining. And then, we're having beers afterwards, and, all the guys know my name now, so... Yeah, it's going well with the inside scoop. Rink Moose infiltrates the World Juniors Canada camp. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm getting some really juicy gossip, especially on your boy Gabe Vilardi, who's quite the party animal.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Regardless of being injured, he was seen fleeing down one of the hotel hallways with a mini stick in his hand, wearing nothing but boxer briefs.
Well, I guess that all comes from his days of doing the bar crawl here in Kingston, right?
Exactly.
He's a party animal.
Oh, he talks about Kingston all the time.
Oh, I bet.
To be honest, I think he's setting a really bad example for some of the younger players.
Wow. This doesn't sound like Team Canada to me. Who's got the reins there? It sounds like there's a lack of discipline.
Well, I couldn't tell you. There just seems to be a bunch of monkeys just jumping all over the place. Probably the most mature kid there is Alexis Lafreniere. He wears the maturity of a 30-year-old out there, and yet it looks like he won't make the team, Nick. So I don't know what this coaching staff is doing, but I have very, very low hopes for this team. But yeah, they're a great group of guys. Good to hang out with.
Well, sounds like they got a lot of work to do if they want to win that championship. So I guess stay tuned.
All I can say is I know Team Sweden is in their rooms 9 p.m. reading books and studying tapes. Exactly. So if you want to beat Sweden, you better start reading the tapes and studying the books, because they're not messing around.
Right. They're treating it like an exam.
Exactly. Oh, don't even get me started on the Finns. Oh my! I don't even want to say. It's probably not. I'm not even allowed to say what they do on this show.
Unethical, eh?
No, it's terrible. They have no respect for the hotel. All right, let's move right along here, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I can't share everything,
here? Maybe next time. Maybe every week of the World Juniors we'll get another scoop from you.
Yes. So I wanted to start here, Nick, on a quick word on how your idol has fallen into the depths of disgrace once more in the public eye. So this all started earlier on in the week, Nick, when he had a famously creepy interview with Johnny Taves right after a hockey game. Are you familiar with the interview?
I am familiar with the interview.
They still love you, Jonathan. Oh my God. That gave me shivers, Nick. Like, that was so freaking weird. And you could see Taves, he's just eating it up like, oh, yeah, another one of these from this weirdo. And the whole crowd, I bet that whole crowd. How much would you pay to be in that crowd when that interview went down?
The crowd went silent. It was like jubilation when he said, Jonathan Taves. The first off, the way he said it was like he was like his best buddy, and he had just seen him after like 5 years of not seeing him. And then everyone's clapping, everyone's happy because Jonathan Taves is on the mic. And then the second he drops the "They still love you, Jonathan" line, it's just silent. It's just dead quiet, awkward as fuck.
And then Taves just classy. Oh, well, that's good. As Pierre Mcguire's hand reaches across the opposite side of his hips. Oh, right. My God.
You know, and here's the funny thing. So after the interview, he shakes his hand. Then Jonathan Taves goes, he signs a puck, throws it in the crowd, and then on his way out, he shakes his hand a second time, and then he slaps him in the ass as he's walking out of the arena.
In that same interview,
the same segment. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He gives him like he does the handshake move. Yeah. And then like the second Taves walks by him, he just swiftly swipes him in the ass.
Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this out of Pierre, is it?
No, there's a long precedent for this one.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm just happy we have more top 10 Pierre Mcguire moments material to add to the collection.
This might have made the list. This might be
it's got to make the list.
Oh, it's got to be there. So for those, obviously, I don't want to hold this moment from anyone. If you just go on YouTube and type in Mcguire and Taves interview, it's probably one of the first things that'll pop up. You can find it there. But yeah, it's as good as we're describing it. Fantastic stuff yet again from Pierre.
Another more sullen take from Pierre earlier this week is something you pointed out to me, Nick, was his take on Jack Hughes. Now, what exactly did he say about Jack Hughes, and who did he compare him to?
Yeah, well, they on Montreal radio, they were getting into who this guy is in Jack, how teams should be approaching tanking. Is it worth tanking? Is he McDavid? Is he Matthews? Like, what's the merit in tanking here? And he straight up said, hey, listen, this kid is far from being a generational talent. He is not a generational talent. And when he started getting into whom would be a good comparable as to compare him to, the name that he dropped, or sorry, the co-host dropped the name, and Pierre agreed with him. The name that they talked about was Nico Hischier, saying that he's on par with a Nico Hischier, which has just gotten Twitter in uproar.
Yes,
with regards to just how ridiculous that comment. See, for me, I wasn't too surprised. I mean, I don't know too much about Jack Hughes. I'm not the amateur scout here. I haven't watched him. I've read the reports, but I mean, for me, I was more so just, surprised. I wasn't insulted or anything. But then when I brought this info to Kyle, he was insulted and was in disbelief. So how about you set the record straight here as to who this player is and just how wrong our friend Pierre was.
Let me get it straight for everybody here. Jack Hughes is no Nico Hischier. That is ridiculous. They're not even in the same stratosphere. This is an entirely different draft from 2017. I mean, Nico Hischier's a great player, and I'm sure he's going to be having a very long and fruitful career as a very solid 1, maybe 2 center on a great team. But Jack Hughes commands the play. Jack Hughes is like gravity on the ice. When he has the puck, he just orbits the world in the offensive zone and waits for his opportunity to strike. He's more dynamic in every single way. He's just a bit on the smaller side. But as we can see in today's NHL, that matters less and less. what I compared him to was a more dynamic Johnny Gaudreau, and I'll stand by that. And that to me puts him right up there with right in the Eichel tier. I mean, we talked about this just personally amongst ourselves. There's a couple tiers below McDavid, and maybe one below McDavid is where you find guys like Matthews and McKinnon. And yeah, maybe Eichel's jumping in there too, and I think maybe Hughes can flirt with that category as well. So, I mean, you guys are going to see it because a lot of people are pegging this World Juniors as a Jack Hughes coming out party, and I truly believe that will be the case. So, yeah, it's just a matter of time before Pierre's comments become just another laughing point for his fan base here, including us.
And you know he's just going to deny it. Like,
oh yeah,
7 years from now, when this guy is, maybe winning the Hart Trophy, or he's in with the scoring race, or the Rocket Richard, or whatever, he is going to deny this, and we're going to laugh about it. Everyone's going to laugh about it 7 years from now. But yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I can't wait. But yeah, he somehow he always avoids admitting he's wrong about stuff. Unless he can come out looking pretty clean. But this one, he's not going to look clean on this because he's trying to go against the grain for no reason, and it's going to blow up in his face. So I hope someone brings it up at a key moment, and he just gets floundered.
Maybe we'll have him on the show, on this show.
Oh, eventually, yeah.
And we'll bring it up.
Yeah, I agree.
But
put him in the hot seat.
If we keep insulting him like this on a weekly basis,
true. You're right.
I don't think he's going to want to come on this show.
No, you're
right. He's gonna squirm, and he's gonna hide in his cave, like the peanut that he is. So we gotta hold our tongues here and not be too critical of the Peanut Mcguire.
His agent will call him and just say, Pierre, do not go on that show.
On the Rink Moose show.
Do not go on Rink Moose.
They will tear you to shreds.
I mean, he's in our fucking theme song, and it's not like a pleasant role he plays.
Yeah, we're going to have to take that out.
No. Well, yeah, when we change the song, which is maybe pretty soon, then we'll take it out. Because, we're looking at some new intro stuff and new song material. So, yeah, we'll keep you guys posted there. But let's switch gears, Nick. We've given Pierre enough of our time. We saw one of the weirdest things I've ever seen on the ice was that crazy referee goal. And all I can describe it to you as is some guy shot the puck into the zone, just a regular dump, and the puck literally bounces off the referee's pelvis area and goes straight into the net on Luongo, and we're just like, what the hell happened? And from certain angles, it looks hilarious. Like, certain angles make it look funnier because, like I said, it's right around his pelvic region, and just the angle is perfect. And he's in the corner too. Like, what a preposterous idea! He's in the corner, it takes a puck right there, and it goes right in the net.
My first question is, like, it's not like Bortuzzo slap shots that into the zone. Like, it's like a flick. It's like a wrist shot. Like, it's got to travel from center ice to the other red line.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're dozed off and just asleep, like, how do you not move out of the way there when the puck's going towards your junk? Like, I'd be terrified. Like, I know you got to move out of the way for the players all the time. The least you could do is move out of the way of the puck when it's heading towards the pelvis region.
Yeah. That was comical. Like,
it was great. It was like
he
a
went
cartoon.
to sleep on the play.
It was like the way it like jumped off him and into the net. It was a cartoon. Like, it was straight out of a comic book. You got it. And I just love the players' reactions because they're just as lost as everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, Luongo's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Now, the goal didn't count, Nick. My question to you is, should that goal count?
You know what? I think for the sake of the game, you have to keep the officials out of it best as possible. I think that the game is at its best when you don't notice the officials on the ice. Like and I thought about this the other day. I'm like, of all the hockey games I've watched, you never actually notice the officials. They're so good at like getting out of your camera shot and like evading the play. They're so good at skating and just getting out of the way so they don't interfere with the play. And so my take on that is like, the second you start throwing officials into a scoring play, like saying, hey, it banked off the official on the way to the goal going in, then I think you divert from that point, which is the officials do their job, but they're also staying out of the game. So I think they made the right call. I didn't know that rule. I've never seen that in my years of playing hockey. I've never seen that in my years of watching hockey, but I think the league got it right.
Yeah. Now, how I like to look at it is I always considered the refs like a moving part of the boards. So if you run into them, it's your fault, and that happens. If the puck goes off a ref's skate and it like bounces to a guy in a prime scoring spot, that'll happen too. It's their job to get out of the way and all that. But I think they got it right here in the sense that they have to also protect these refs. And if it becomes, okay to bank a puck in off a ref, it could get very dangerous. And I think this is just a good precedent to set here. So I like the call. I didn't know this was the rule. I thought at first when I saw it that would count. So yeah, it's just a little learning experience, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. As any good lawyer would say, the floodgates would be open if you let that happen.
Yeah,
where you could score off a ref,
and
you could tailor your play to kind of center around that. So yeah, like I said, I think the league got it right. It just happened to come at a very funny expense because you have this guy literally lying on the ice trying to gather himself, like anybody else would. Any other guy would do the same thing in that scenario. But this poor guy's though the fans are going nuts, they're playing music, and he's got to get it off the ice and actually wave the goal off. So,
he's got a job to do.
Yeah, it's a tough gig. So for anyone who says officials don't have a tough job and they're just getting paid to watch hockey and they're getting six figures a year to watch hockey, yeah, no. Point to that very scenario that we witnessed just last week.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until you take a puck to the pelvic area,
Exactly.
Right, Nick?
Exactly.
So you made a quick comment there before the show about how the Blues have been fascinating this week. And I'll be honest, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I should, but I haven't been following the Blues that much. So why don't you fill us in? Why are the Blues fascinating this week?
Well, it all started a week ago. We're recording this on Monday, December 17th. If you go back to last Sunday, about a week ago, they had a devastating 6-1 loss to the Vancouver Canucks at home. Jake Allen pulled. Chad Johnson comes in. He's not any better. It was a terrible loss. This team, I think they had already been playing bad going into that, but that in itself just spoke volumes. And then the following day, you have at practice, two guys straight up get into a scrum. And they start throwing blows at each other. Did you see this, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. That's ridiculous.
Robert Bortuzzo
yeah.
starts just fucking going nuts on this guy. The other guy I don't even think he gets a punch in the whole fight. But they're going at it for a good 5 seconds. Everyone's just watching. It's funny. You could actually see Jake Allen behind Bortuzzo just minding his own business, just watching.
Just doing nothing, eh?
Just doing nothing. And... yeah, actually, one goalie in the shot. I don't know if it's Jake. He actually comes in very briefly to try to separate the guys, but then he just turns around really, really quickly. He's like, "Okay, I'm going in to help," and then he just turns around and says, "No, fuck it. Those I don't want to get knocked by Bortuzzo."
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it was a good scrap. Bortuzzo got some punches in, and just that seemed to blow up social media because it's not often you see a fight in practice. And then they have a huge win against Colorado where they won in overtime. They came back to win the game. It seemed like the fight almost, revigorated. Bortuzzo, if anybody, got a contract extension the other day. It's almost like they're rewarding him for this. Like he got a 4-year extension a few days after the fight. Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
They brought in a dog, Kyle, like a therapy dog.
Oh, I've seen the dog.
To skate with them on the ice. Like, what are these guys doing? They're getting in scraps in practice. They're playing with dogs at practice.
Oh my God!
And then to cap things all off, yesterday they lose. What was it? I think they lost 7-2 to Calgary. Jake Allen pulled yet again.
Thumped.
That's twice in a week. Jake Allen's been pulled in a game. The coach called their performance embarrassing, pathetic, and now they got to hit the Canadian Western road swing. So I just thought between all those things, you're talking puppies on the ice and fights on the ice and heroic comebacks against the Avalanche and then piss poor performances against teams like the Canucks. Like, it's just been a fucking whirlwind of a week for the Blues. And it's funny because now I'm hearing talks of Parayko potentially being traded, Pietrangelo potentially being traded, Tarasenko potentially being traded.
Oh, he's been awful.
He's been awful. And they were talking about it. Ferraro, he was talking about him. They were saying how he's kind of like a chubby guy. He's 6 foot tall. He's about our height, 225 pounds.
Ooh, yeah.
He's
actually
fat. He's
okay.
Fat.
Okay.
That's awful. How are you 225, 6 feet tall?
I don't know.
Get out of here. And so it was funny when they brought it up to Ferraro on Toronto radio. He was just like, yeah, I mean, I last time I was in St. Louis, he straight up walked by me and I thought he was the bus driver.
No.
Yeah, he literally said that.
He's got to take care of his weight. You know what?
How
I
are
thought
you
of
a 50 goal scorer and not looking after your weight? You know?
Well, he's not anymore, I guess. I think maybe he just let himself go. I don't know. But I did see a little video segment on him, and yeah, he didn't look right. He just looked a little bit round.
Yeah.
But I think we found a new title for the episode. Tarasenko is fat. That'll be the tagline for this episode.
He's on the OV Russian getting fat diet.
But at least Ovi's 6'3", like he can wield that weight. This guy's just like imagine Jonathan Drouin, but 225 pounds. That's not right. That shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. Well, I think the weight speaks volumes of his performance, because I remember the two of us, and we've already told the story when we were at that hockey Canada, the championships, the World Cup of hockey, and all the players were walking by us in the red carpet. When we saw Ovechkin, I'd call him a bus driver. He was just fat.
No, I don't know.
He did not look like in the same shape as those guys. And sure enough, I think that was the year he only scored something like 32 goals, which is still amazing, but by Ovi standards is not going to cut it. So I think there's a relationship there between how these guys are looking after themselves off the ice and how they're playing on the ice. And I think if you look at Tarasenko and see the fact he hasn't got a point in something like 7 games, which is just nuts when you had this guy in a Blake Wheeler conversation just a few months ago saying who's better.
Boy, is that embarrassing.
That's not even a conversation piece anymore.
No. And I think we were both leaning the wrong way on that one.
Oh, we were Pierre wrong. We were as wrong as Pierre's ever been.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
And, that is embarrassing. So needless to say, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know where he's going to go if he is going to get traded, but he's got to start looking after himself, this young Russian.
Yeah, like it's just a horrible... Like, think of that. You have this great asset of Tarasenko, and it's just like now so tarnished. Like after what's been going on this, like you can't trade him now, I don't think, because his value is lower than it's ever been. It's like what I try to do in fantasy hockey. It's ridiculous. Whenever my guys are doing bad, I'd say, "Oh, I want to get rid of him right away." But you know what? I don't know. Like they can't get as much as they could for him. Like maybe you just hope that next year is a different year and he has a better off season. Like maybe the new coach can give him a better training plan or something.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy to think about that. This guy, every time he was on the ice, because I watched a lot of St. Louis games, he would lead his team on the ice. He carried the line. It could have been him and Schwartz and Shen. I know that was a big combo last year.
Yeah.
And he would just carry the line. And now he looks like the decoy. He's
Wow.
like the Naz. He's like, on the power play. He's like the Nazem Kadri of their power play. He's just the decoy.
No.
Well, he's not in the middle. Like, he's still on the point. He's got his position. But the fact is, the reality is, he's not doing shit all. So to be honest, I think a change of scenery might do him some good.
Did I hear right in hearing that power play was like maybe the worst in the NHL? That St. Louis power play?
No. It's actually, I think it's in the top 10, Kyle.
No.
Yeah, I swear to God, like 2 weeks ago, we were talking about their special teams, and I said St. Louis is a top 10 PK and a top 10 power play team.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll look into that during the show, but I just want to get your comments quickly on what the Carolina owner said.
Right. Well, this is funny because it's funny we were talking about Tarasenko just before this. He had a lot of things to say this week. One of which was he said, quote, "We need a sniper," end quote.
Who said that?
The owner.
Oh,
he got out of bed one day and just said, "We need a sniper."
Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
So I think the fact we were talking about Tarasenko, I think that would be a fun fit. I know I've heard that from some analysts. I think that would be neat. He also said, quote, "In my tenure as owner, we will never draft a defenseman."
Oh, that's where that came from. I remember that, and I was like, who in God's green earth would say something like that? Like, limit yourself like that. What if you're first overall and Darlene is sitting there? Like, what a ridiculously stupid thing to say.
Well, clearly someone who doesn't know anything about the sport, you know, he clearly doesn't have a hockey background. I don't know if you've looked the guy up, but he's like a classic Southern. He's got a Southern accent, clearly has no business being in the hockey business. I know he likes the sport, but he clearly doesn't have a history there. He clearly doesn't know what he's saying. He's not deferring to the people who actually know about the sport. He's kind of just going out and running the show. He's getting into the more managerial player personnel side of things where he should be taking a back seat.
Yeah.
And he's not really doing that.
That's the worst thing that can happen is when your owner gets too hands-on and starts making all these calls.
It's not good. It's
when
not
he doesn't
good.
know anything.
No. And you could tell. You just listen to him. He was on Toronto radio like last week. You just listen to him for like a minute. He doesn't know what he's saying. And just in that regard, Kyle, he made another outlandish comment. He said we ought to expand the playoff field to 24 teams.
Right, I heard about this.
24 teams.
And do like a round robin type thing and like best of 3,
I don't know.
was it?
I don't even know how it would work. I'm just saying the fact you're letting 24 of 32 teams into the playoffs, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, what's the motive of even trying in the regular season, right?
No, it would become a joke, and I heard people say this that they used to do something like this when there was less NHL teams, and it was just regular season it was a joke. It didn't really matter. So this guy, he just sounds like a clown. Like him and Melnick should get a suite together and just come up with ways to shoot themselves in the foot. Like this guy's ridiculous. And if you want a sniper so bad, why don't you have some patience? You have a classic sniper in Andrei Svechnikov, who's going to be nothing but amazing for you down the road. Like what are you trying to do? Win this year, you stupid idiot? Come on, this guy's foolish. I don't like this guy. And you know what? Go figure. Carolina's a bottom 3 NHL franchise in terms of value. Oh. They might be on the move soon. I don't know what's going to happen with this team.
Yeah, no, Phoenix, Florida. Those are the big 3 there. And
Florida needs a run, man. They need a run to save that city, or save that franchise there. Like if they get one deep run, I think they can get a little bit of traction. Because they have a good cast of characters. It's just like, man, They need a deep run, like Tampa.
It transcends beyond the play on the ice, and it goes into the actual running of the team, right?
Yeah.
They're just not getting. There's no interest there. There's no fans there. Just to bring back Ferraro, he said the other night you could have shot a cannonball into a random spot in the bleachers, and it probably wouldn't have hit anyone.
Oh my God! Why would he say that?
Literally every night you walk into the arena, it's pick your own seat night, because
God.
Three-fourths of the whole arena is empty.
And I bet half of those people that are there are Canadians who are moved there or traveling there.
Probably, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So, those southern hockey markets aren't doing so well. This owner in Carolina, he's just the tip of the iceberg, trying to do his best to get this team out of that area. But I don't think comments like this are gonna help you very much.
I want a team in Quebec sooner rather than later, Nick. They need this team. They were very upset when Bettman said that Seattle would be the end of the expansion for the near future. They were very upset. Sad Quebecers. It was not cool. It was not a cool statement.
Well,
so get Carolina out of there.
I know. Hey, yeah, for sure. But if they move, they're not going to Canada. I mean, if anything, we've seen Bettman and clearly cares more about the economy and the actual dollar and the Canadian and American dollar value and how that comes into play, and no taxes and taxes. And if anything, I've heard Dallas, another team in Dallas, whether it be Houston or even Austin, Texas.
That's lame.
Well, too bad. That's just the Bettman.
So lame. Another team in Texas.
Yeah.
No one wants that. They don't even want that.
Well, hey, when you think about it, you look at all major sports. That seems to be the norm. You look at baseball. You got two baseball teams in Texas. You got basketball. You got two basketball teams in Texas. I mean, that's kind of the norm.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, I just want to quickly jump into a World Junior Canada camp drama, and I was just kidding, guys, earlier about Villardo and all those rumors I was spreading. Don't tell anyone about that, because it was all just a bunch of phony baloney. So a bunch of cuts have been made so far in the camp. We're pretty deep here. We did the U Sports series. Canada is down to, they've got their D set. They got their goalies set, and not a huge amount of surprises. There's a couple names that raised eyebrows, but all in all, not a huge, no hot takes there or anything. But right now, we're in a situation where Jarrett Anderson Dolan, whatever the hell his name is, and Villardo are still in question regarding their health, with Velarde probably being more questionable than Anderson Dolan. So the word on the street from Bobby Mack and how the lines are looking based on practice and who's substituting and where, it seems as though Alexis Lafreniere is the guy on the outs if Velarde and JAD are good to go. Now this is very troublesome to me, Nick, and a lot of people on Twitter, people are up in arms about this because we just wanted to see the kid play. I mean, this big hyped talent. It would be just a darn shame if he didn't make this team because of some LA Kings prospects. Am I correct?
Well, I hate to say it, Kyle, but at the end of the day, it's about winning the championship. And I don't care who the kid is, what his draft stock is, the so-called generational talent status. If there's guys who, in the opinion of the coaching staff, which you assume are, among the best of the best, given they're being tasked with coaching this great Canadian team, I don't think you can just say, hey, we're going to put this guy in the lineup just for the sake of the hype surrounding him. If the kid not on the team and he's not going to help you win, like those other guys who, in the opinion of the coaching staff, can help you win, then I think you got to defer to their judgment and say, hey, these guys know what they're saying, and we're going to trust in the coaching staff, and let's put in the two Kings prospects. I mean, how is that not rational?
Well, I want to give you a balanced analysis on this, because you can look at it two ways. So the coach said he wanted to be the fastest Canadian team in recent memory, said he wanted to be a team of skill. Now this move, I think, goes away from that notion that he created himself. So by him keeping a guy like Entwistle and fucking Shane Bowers ahead of Lafreniere goes against what he said there. Now on the flip side, I said earlier that Lafreniere would have a tough time making this team if he doesn't land a scoring role because he's not very effective in a bottom six grinders kind of role or shutdown role. Now this, I think, if you look back to our conversation last week about the Leafs, this is a highly applicable to team building and how you need to set roles along the roster. So you don't want a guy like Lafreniere in your bottom six. Now that's just ridiculous. You don't want a guy like, Andreas Janssen in your bottom, on your fourth line. What Canada's doing here is they're recognizing that, the scorers are going to be able to score. If that's not Lafreniere, that's fine. But, your fourth line needs to play a role. And I think that's, in its own way, pretty admirable on how they're sticking to their guns and sticking to the roles that they've carved out on these third and fourth lines. Because, there's definitely more talented guys that could be on this roster that just aren't. Because, you know what, at the end of the day, a guy like Entwistle, if you go and tell him to block a bunch of shots and forecheck hard and take the body every time, he's probably going to do it. That guy's probably going to do whatever the hell you want. And I've never seen him play. But a guy like Lafreniere, yeah, if you don't have him in a scoring role, then you know what? You probably don't want him in your bottom six. So I get it. But at the same time, he did make a comment saying he wanted to be fast and skilled. This might not be living up to that billing here by doing that.
So it's almost like one guy saying two different things. He's saying, I want speed and I want skill, which basically means you want like the Leafs. You want like 3 scoring lines instead of just 2.
That's where it sounded like it was going.
But then you're here now. He's saying, okay, now I want a third and fourth line who are more, sticking with the traditional third or fourth line role. And in that case, I don't think he's as good, and I want more of a Jarrett Anderson-Dolan guy.
Yeah, what you'll notice on this team, Nick, and especially compared to the other teams, it's a really good forward group, but it's not a star-studded affair. Like, your top brand name guy might be Cody Glass, it might be Nick Suzuki, but these guys aren't like, jarring talents. These guys aren't top 5 talents. Like it's going to be done by committee if he goes this way. And what he's doing is he's taking away a guy that has the potential to be a game-breaking talent. No one on this team is gonna put up 4 points in a game, in like a meaningful game, and take over a game. I don't think anyone has that full capability of like head and shoulders above everybody else. So he's rolling the dice here, and basically what he's saying is we're gonna do this by committee, and we're not gonna have any major stars on this team.
Yeah, sounds bold. Sounds like it could either go really, really well or really, really piss poor. So, hey, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like that's the case. Either this team's winning gold or this team's not even getting to the semifinal.
No, yeah.
Like
it's not going to be the flashiest team, I'll tell you that. Not flashy, but effective maybe. Yes, I could see it being effective.
Doesn't sound like a Kyle Nice team to me.
I mean, like Max Comtois will be your only returning player if things keep going the way they are. And if Velarde, he'll be the only returning player. And he's not like a super talented guy. He's more of a role kind of guy. Energy.
He's a role guy, yeah. In Anaheim, he's a role forward.
Yeah. Now we've seen role guys in the NHL be stars at this tournament, but it just doesn't seem like his kind of speed, Mm-hmm. But so it's going to be interesting. We're going to see some guys that maybe have to play above their weight scale. So yeah, it's going to be fun. But if it's me, I mean, keep him as your 13th forward. Maybe you don't play him all the time, but if you insert him in the right spots, give him the right chances, he could break open a game for you. So I don't know. You might want to keep that little trump card in your back pocket.
Yeah, we'll see here. I mean, they got to make a decision quick. I think the deadline is approaching as to the final roster. So we'll probably have an update for everyone by next week as to what the official roster is and what exactly is going on in Vancouver.
Yeah, and I think actually pre-tournament games start on Wednesday, Nick. So we're going to actually see this team play for the first time on Wednesday, because those U Sports broadcasts were terrible. It was like only if you sign up for TSN Direct or something. So you basically couldn't watch it. But yeah, I would say they're going to go through those games, and it might come right down to the wire because, again, we're waiting on Velarde's health. So, but like, come on, the guy hasn't played in 6 months. Is he really going to be ready just on time?
And I'm shocked by the Anderson Dolan move, because I know a week or two when I was talking about the two of them. I didn't rule out Velarde, but I straight up ruled out Anderson Dolan, and that was what the reports in LA were telling me.
He had a
but
broken
now
hand,
like,
right?
Yeah, and now it looks like he's closer than Velarde. So
Yeah.
it's like a total swap of what I was expecting here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised. If he makes the team, I'm ecstatic, because I saw the kid play live in Ottawa just a couple months ago, and I thought he was very impressive. But we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, keeping a close eye on that. If you guys want to follow a Twitter account that is going to give you all the latest info on this, it's Mark Masters on Twitter there. So give him a follow if you want to stay fully up to date on this stuff. He's really good at that, along with Bob McKenzie, of course. But with that, Nick, we'll move right along on to a very exciting couple of games from last week involving the Lightning. So first, we want to talk about the Leafs and Lightning, and a lot of people peg this as the two titans of the East, and for the most part, that's really what it is. If you really break it down, these are the two most offensively talented teams, perhaps in the NHL. And at that point, it was number 1 versus number 2 in the NHL. I don't know if it's still that. Might be, but I'm not 100% sure. But I didn't get to watch the whole thing, Nick. But from what I can tell was that two really good teams. Toronto maybe pushed the pace for the most part, but they got beaten by a goaltender named Andrei Vasilevsky, who just came back from injury and was absolutely outstanding. Do you concur on that statement?
I have some notes written on my phone here. I called him an octopus.
Yeah, I know. All those crazy leg saves, I get what you're saying.
Shit.
I really get what you're saying.
What is he doing? Like the acrobats he's performing in the blue paint. When like the puck gets behind him, he somehow finds a way to just scoop the puck with his leg and like clear the puck. Like how the hell do you do that? That is some tricky shit they taught him in Russia, because I'm a goalie and I've never heard of that stuff. But yeah, dud. I think the main takeaway from this game was, if you're a Leafs fan just looking from the periphery, settle down. It was the Leafs who by far dominated this game. Scoring chances, shots, 4 goal posts by the Leafs. I mean, they brought it in this game. They tried to impress the moms, and I think they certainly did.
Yeah.
Power play 0 for 6. But
Yikes.
look at the chances they established. I was listening to the great Scotty Bowman on the radio, who analyzed this game, and he said he was one of the best power plays he'd ever seen. Totally impressed with Marner. It was fantastic. So I was not concerned after this game. If you listen to Matt Babcock in his post game, he wasn't very concerned. Let John Cooper smile and laugh all he wants and get the win. But I think this was a big step for the Leafs. It's just a little block in the road, but I think after this game, the Leafs could leave the game saying, hey, we didn't get our asses kicked. We actually put a good effort, and we just need some breaks, and we didn't get the breaks. So if you're a Leafs fan, do not be concerned. Let's see what happens in a month from now when these teams play again.
Now, that note on the power play there, I think that's still been having a little bit of problems recently. And I'm sure this is just down to, they just kind of lost a step of timing. And that doesn't really concern me at all. It's still such a lethal power play. But, some guys talking about on the radio, like, oh, what's wrong with the power play? And quite honestly, not much. It might be a case of people are figuring out what their tendencies are. We know Marner likes to make that half slapper and then throw it into the front of the net there. But I think the Leafs will, that the amount of talent on that power play, they'll find a way to get clicking at an impressive rate once again.
I'll tell you what though, if you just look at the tail of the tape between the two teams, like this was our first chance at getting to see who's better than who on paper and on the ice. I think Tampa, you clearly saw the defense is better, it's deeper. You saw that with the goal to make it 4-1 by Tampa. Where the Leafs had their fourth line on the ice. They had the third defense pair, and they got screwed over in the last second of the game, or the last 5 seconds of the game when Tampa scored that goal.
Yeah.
I think it was Tyler Johnson. It was just a brutal goal. It was a brutal play, brutal coverage in the Leaf zone, and they totally let the game get away right there and then.
Yeah,
and it's that play, that very play, that I think separates this team. Because the Tampa, they have a competent fourth line. Hell, they have the best fourth line in hockey. I talked about Joseph.
No.
I talked about Joseph a month ago and how great he was. He didn't even play in this game because he was injured. You look at guys like Cirelli. Between Cirelli and Joseph and Killorn, it's the best fourth line in hockey. And then you look at next to those guys in Vegas, I'd say. And then you look at the defense. I mean, that's no jokes either. I mean, you got Stralman, McDonough, Hedman, Coburn, Sergachev. I mean, one of those 5 guys I mentioned is going to be on your third pairing. It's not like you're throwing an Oshiganov out there to fuck you up. So clearly, I think that very play to make it 4-1 spoke volumes. Because you had the Leafs, they don't have depth. They don't have a fourth line they can toss out there to kill the end of the second period. They don't have a third defense pair they can throw out there to get them through the last minute of a period. And it proved costly. Say what you want about Babcock and his decision to throw those guys out there. Hey, he made a mistake. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the guys. He doesn't have the personnel in that third pairing and that fourth line to make it happen like a guy like John Cooper has. So I think that spoke volumes, that very moment in the game there.
Yeah, and we heard some comments from Dubas just recently, which was pretty refreshing to me as just a fan of a team, where he said, now I know they were asking about trading and improving the team, and he actually outlined that defense is probably the area where they need to improve the most, and he's going to see how things go throughout the year. And whether he makes a move at the deadline, he'll have to see. But I think what he did kind of was maybe shut the door a little bit on trading in the very, very short term, like right now. If a move is to be made, it's probably going to be at the deadline. But he also kind of acknowledged that, yeah, this might be a weakness of ours. And I just find that really refreshing to hear from a GM, to admit where a team is maybe a little bit weaker. And it just shows that if this remains a problem, that he's willing to address it down the road. So I like what he said there.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he's finally owned up to it, because I know the story in the past has been he's been very bullish on that defense. He's been very high on it, more so than others. He thinks it's vastly underrated. But now I think even for him, who's clearly biased, he's even owning up to the fact that things need to change. And yeah, I'm glad he recognizes it, and hopefully something happens here in the next couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Now the Lightning didn't just play the Leafs in a fantastic Titan style game. They also played the Jets, Nick. Now this game went right down to the wire, went all the way to overtime, and it was comeback fashion as well, and it had all the electricity as maybe even more than the Leafs Lightning game. Like, this could be a very, very strong potential for a Stanley Cup final, with Winnipeg just looking so good right now. And I want to highlight one guy in particular who you're probably very familiar with how well he's doing. It's Mark Scheifele, going through the best stretch of his career. Now, it just seems like he's figured the game out. Things just look so simple for him at times out there. He's got 46 points in 33 games. He's 5th in league scoring, behind the likes of Rantanen, McKinnon, Kucherov and McDavid. Those are the only guys ahead of Mark Scheifele, and I think he's got like something stupid like 16 points in his last 5 games. Like, oh my God, that is just ridiculous. We made the comment, this guy's got enough talent to challenge for the league lead in scoring, and he's finally showing that kind of potential come through. He's clockwork with Blake Wheeler. He's always in the right spot. He's got just that really quick, deadly shot. I mean, this guy's the whole package, Nick. The whole package.
14 points in 5 games. That's the stat there.
14, yeah.
And no, you're absolutely right. Him and Wheeler are just instantaneous chemistry. It's what we've been seeing all year, and now these last 5 games, this short little stretch here, he's gone to another level. So it's great to see, and it's great to see people are finally appreciating him as a player. He was vastly underrated for so long. I'm sure in a lot of American markets they don't even know who the guy is, but now he's shining, and hopefully he's making a name for himself. And as you said, I think he's climbed his way into that MVP conversation, as he should be. That's why I drafted him with one of my first picks in our draft. And now I'm laughing with him on my team. So good to see him there, and good to see Nikolai Ehlers had a good night too. 2 goals, 1 assist. He was flying all over the ice. Yeah. And it looks like Paul Maurice is pretty. He's kept that line together for quite some time now. Pretty plumb. And he seems sold on it. And it makes sense. You want a more speedier guy like Ehlers out there with more, not as quick, but guys with more finesse and skill like Wheeler and Scheifele. So it seems like the line's a fit. And myself owning 2 of those guys, I'm just, like I said, I'm just laughing every Jets game. So good to see.
So just in the interest of time, we have a quick segment here on the TSN trade bait board. We're going to make this super, super, super brief. So, Nick, do you have that list in front of you there?
Just pulling it up right now.
So to me, when I look at this list, there's not a... To me, like, the real prize here... Yeah, the real prize here is probably Colton Parayko, who is number 1 on the list. I mean, you look at the age... You look at the commodity that he's a right-hand defenseman. He's got term on his contract, which means he's controllable. Now, he will be a UFA after 3 years, and it's a $5.5 million hit. But seriously, though, like, this guy's a really, really good defenseman. And if you can get a good deal going with St. Louis because of how poorly they're doing, you might have a real key here. You might have a real key.
Yeah, I like him from the contract standpoint. I like the fact you get 3 more years at 5.5. I think that's very palatable. Pesci as well, 5 years at $4 million. That's an even better deal. So in terms of just term and control, I think those are the guys you got to target if you're like a Leafs fan. But then I think the best defenseman, like if you just look at the list, the best defenseman on the list is Jake Muzzin. I think he's right now, just this year, he would help you more in a playoff. He would help you more in a playoff push than those 2 guys we just talked about. Unfortunately, it's only a 1-year deal he's got right now, so I don't know if that's a bad thing. It means you just get him for this year, and then you can renegotiate if you want to re-sign him, or he's just a rental. But yeah. I think he's the better defenseman of the 3 just right now.
I'm surprised.
Not potential. No, it shouldn't be surprised, Kyle. This guy is fantastic. This guy made Team Canada.
Jake Moose,
World Hockey Championships. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. And he's just known to be a stout defenseman. He plays hard, and he is exactly what I'd want in a Leafs defenseman. He would be the perfect fit just for this playoff push, for this 2018-2019 season. He's exactly what they'd be looking for. So to me, I look at the list, and I like those 3 names. And yeah, that's those are the guys who stick out to me.
Fair enough, Nick. Now, again, in the essence of time, we'll have to move on because we got 2 more pretty decent segments here. This one won't take too long. Just we've got to mention this guy, Alexander Ovechkin. This is a guy I've never in my life given enough credit, but I'm going to do so right now. He's got 29 goals in 32 games. 29 goals. On pace for his best career year at the age of 33. The ripe age of 33, may I add. Nick, I'm going to make a hot take here, Nick. This player is the greatest goal scorer of all time.
Whoa.
Hockey history. Now, when you can... he may not pass Gretzky's goal record, but when you consider like the era and the goaltending and the equipment and how the game has changed, and it's harder to score, like this guy just consistently just amazes people with his weapon of a shot. And if he gets anywhere close to the Gretzky record, then it will be an absolute feat, an absolute accomplishment. This guy, like, no one can score like that in this day and age. It's absolutely crazy what he's done. And he's just an outstanding, pure goal-scoring talent. Maybe the best we've ever seen.
Wow.
Wow is right.
The numbers speak volumes. If you compare him to the legends, the legendary goal scorers of the past, Lemieux, Gretzky, I mean the guy's up there. And when you consider the present day of today's NHL, as you said, with the goalie pads and how he's had to deal with that, I mean you gotta accept that this guy has been at the top consistently every year in goal scoring. And the way he scores, it's like the unique way he puts the puck in the net, and just his signature spot on the power play, and the signature slap shot, the signature one-timer. It's just a patented move that we've all come to know, hockey fans, in the last decade. So, yeah, I think he should be getting this recognition. And once again, for an Ovechkin fantasy owner, a keeper owner, and myself.
Oh, stop bragging!
I'm laughing here. I mean,
Shut the hell up.
He is the undisputed number one fantasy player this year. 129 shots on goal, 96 hits. So he's almost at he's almost at 100 in both those respects, shots and hits. And then he's got the 29 goals. He's got points. I mean, the guy's a stud, and in my mind, no one comes close to touching him. See standpoint. So
come on,
the guy not even close.
That's a load of crap.
Say what you want about
Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon.
No.
Yes.
Settle down. I know Rantanen's got the 56 points, but the peripherals aren't there. It's just not the same. So Ovi's the guy. Goal scoring is at a premium. That means more in fantasy because less guys are available on the wire to get you goals. More guys can get you assists. But if you just look at goal scoring, the most premium, hard to get statistic, this guy's in a class of his own. So I think for that very reason, yes, potentially the greatest goal scorer of all time, and yes, most certainly the fantasy MVP to this point in the season.
Wow. Now, I would say McKinnon probably challenges that by the end of the year because
we'll see.
He's just super well-rounded. But, Nick, I got to tell you, because I was looking at Ovi's stats really quickly before we went on here. I found something really curious, and it just jumps out to me because if we saw this today, then we'd be like scratching our heads. But Ovechkin's draft year, so back in 03-04, because he was drafted in 04 and then had to wait the lockout. He was playing in Moscow of what is today the KHL, but what back then was just called the Russian League. So he was playing for Moscow, and he only had 13 goals, 23 points in 53 games, which just seems like really pedestrian. But again, I don't know like how the league was structured or whether young players were playing in that league a lot. And then the next year, so his draft plus 1 year, he only had like 24 points. So it's just like really lackluster numbers in the Russian league. And I'm just like, if I were looking at that, I'd be going, well, this guy isn't going to be very good, is he? And then he comes out and puts up 106 points in his rookie year. So it's like, wow, what are they doing over there in Russia to him? Like they must have really screwed him up. But I just found that really funny and weird.
Yeah, no, those numbers definitely surprised me. Mm-hmm. But hey, I mean, What matters is the here and now, and the guy's lighting up the lamp. So, funny to hear those stats, but
Yeah.
I guess they're from long ago, and the guy's a changed man now, and clearly we're seeing that. So, kudos to him.
Yeah, now we have to move on, Nick. It's the Philly situation, you see. And we got to say, you move over Bridgestone because Philly is the new official tire fire of the NHL. Like, these guys are so ridiculous. So we saw the whole thing with GM Ronnie Hextall there and how oddly that was handled. Now we've got Hackstall is fired. And from what I've heard, it was handled very poorly. No word on a replacement yet. And from what I can tell is we got another situation here, Nick, where the owner is getting a little bit antsy about where the team is and wants to get his grubby little paw prints all over the blueprint of this team. Now, here's the worst part. Now, that aside, I think the coach was due to go because I think he lost the favor of the players, but you've just called up Carter Hart. The poor guy, he's just 20 years old. He just recently found his groove in the AHL, and he's been playing well recently. But he's got a 903 on the year so far, Nick. Like a 903, and you want to thrust him into a really bad situation? Like, Philly's been getting beat 7-1, 5-0, like all kinds of crazy scores. What if you put in your goalie of the future, first NHL game, and he gets torched for 5 goals in 1 period, and the guy's psyche is just shattered? It just seems like very poor management, Nick. Like, these guys, they don't know what they're doing. This guy's 20 years old. You've got Michael Neuwirth who's backing him up, so I can only assume he's relatively healthy and able to play. I know poor Stolars just went down, but this is a mistake.
Okay, well, there's a number of ways to go here. First off, I guess I'll talk about Hart first, now that you mention it. I mean, I wouldn't read too much into the AHL stats. I know the 903 doesn't look good and the goals against doesn't look good. But if there's one thing we've learned, and we've talked about this with guys like Sparks, is you can't read into those numbers. If they're good or bad, it's just such an unpredictable league. There's a lack of structure. There's a lack of roles. It's just a different league. There's less attention to detail. There's a lack of structure. Don't read into those numbers very much. And the reason I say that is class example number A is that guy Cal Peterson in LA, who I was going nuts about, Kyle, a few weeks ago. This guy, awful numbers in with the Ontario Reign in the NHL, but the second he's called up, Kyle, look at his save percentage right now. It's among the best in the NHL. I think it's north of 920. This kid's been a stud this kid has been a stud in the NHL when he had lackluster numbers in the AHL. I think we might be seeing a very same thing here in Carter Hart. Everyone's going to assume he's not going to play well with those numbers, but as I said, you can't read into those numbers. Once he's in the NHL and he's playing behind a team where there's more attention to detail, more coaching, more structure, I think that will help. And you'll get to see just who Carter Hart really is. And we saw it with Cal Peterson so far in LA, and I think you may very well see the same with Carter Hart. So I'm not a skeptic here, albeit I am not a fan of kind of thrusting him in at this moment. Like, if there was a time to call him up, you should have done it, before this coach was fired, before hell was breaking loose in Philly. But now you just look like a fool because, the coach is fired. It looks like he can't solve the problem. And now you're hoping this young kid who's 18 can solve the problem. So it's sad. And it's sad that you're putting the life of your franchise, the future of your franchise, of this season, in this young kid's hand. It's like giving us the season, like someone like us, the season to salvage.
I don't know about that.
It is, and it's sad. But hey, I mean, from and that brings me to the managerial side of things. I mean, you say it publicly that this coach is going to be evaluated over this road trip, this most recent Western Canadian road trip. Terrible decision, because then you have the players going, well, shit, now we feel responsible for this guy's career and his livelihood. You know, like we have to play hard or else this guy's getting canned. And say, wait, maybe we don't like the guy, but the guy, you know, it's still his job. It's his job that's dependent on our play, which is just awkward. It's not something you want to, it's not a road you want to go down.
Yeah.
And that's why this new GM who came in, Fletcher, that kind of made me shake my head. And then you fire the guy today on Monday, and it's just before the holiday season. That's not nice. The guy's got a family to go back to. That's not good. Bad timing.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't like any of this. It smells stinky. And the Carter Hart thing's kind of just the cherry on top. It's kind of just it exacerbates the whole problem. So it seems like Philly's kind of the new joke. From a managerial standpoint, in my opinion. Yeah,
I mean, it's a tire fire. Say whatever you want, but this is just mismanagement in almost every way. Now, all we can do is hope to God that that Hart has a pretty decent showing, and I think he's got the talent to do it. And I think you do make a good, fair point that AHL numbers can be very misleading. I mean, I know Carey Price had some pretty poor AHL numbers as well, so. Yeah, I think I just really hope this guy doesn't get blown up in his first game, which is probably tomorrow if we're looking at the schedule and all that. So, I don't know. Like Nick, what happens to Philly now? Do you think this new coaching change sparks them, and a fresh young face in the net, does that coax them into playing a bit better? Or, did this coach, Hackstall, just completely lose favor of the players and now they're just going to rejuvenate? Or, like, where do you see this team going? Are they going to kind of flounder around the bottom still? Or, because I'll be honest, I think there's nowhere to go but up for them. I see a small improvement in on-ice performance, and depending on how Hart does, I think they could do a little bit of climbing in the standings, but nothing too serious.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Metro Division. Now, I think that's the weakest division in hockey. I know we were chirping the Pacific for a few weeks, but since then, the Pacific's gotten better. Now the Metro looks like shit. Teams like the Islanders are all of a sudden like a fringe playoff team. I mean, to me, I look at Philly's roster. I see the Islanders roster, and I say, well, why can't Philly be better than the Islanders?
Yeah.
Or why can't Philly be better than New Jersey? Or why can't Philly be better than Carolina? I mean, it seems there is only up. You're absolutely right. And I see the team on paper. I see they've done some line shuffling today at practice. They have Patrick centering the first line with connecting Giroux.
No, really?
Yeah.
You're kidding me. That was today?
Me. Yeah.
Boy, he's been bad. Bad. Stinks.
And, I mean, they're going to have, obviously, they're going to have the third line. If JVR is on your third line, that's good. That's only depth there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the team looks good. Maybe Sanheim will get more minutes now, because I know that was a big controversy. How he was one of their better defensemen, but he just wasn't getting the minutes. So maybe now they slot him into a top four role. The way's only up, and there's certainly little things, line juggling, that can maybe work here and get this team back into a playoff contention. It's still early. We got 50 games to go, so I'm a believer. And just another thing on the management side, there was also rumors of Joel Quenneville being hired today.
Yes, I think that's baloney.
They publicly released, Hextall to get fired and Quenneville to come in. And I now I'm hearing that's baloney. And the fact that that was even out there, it's just sad, because it's just this awkward situation where the players are like, hey, like, who's coaching our team tomorrow? Trust when you have the media saying one thing and then saying another thing. Like, shit like that would never happen with like a managerial group like the Leafs or like the Habs, that shit would not happen. So I think it's embarrassing for the team and embarrassing for the fan base, and I can only hope. I can only hope that things get better there in Philly, because they really deserve it. It's like I said, it's one of the best sports cities in all of North America, and I think they deserve a good playoff run for once, because I know they've been one and done for a few years now.
Yeah, it just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, Nick. I know. I think the fans deserve it. I think the players deserve it. But I don't like seeing all this mismanagement and poor handling of people, and then seeing people having success over it. I like it, to me, it's almost like I want them to bottom out this year, just because this owner, in my eyes, has just made a whole farce of this team. So, I don't want to see him do well this year. And I was super high on Philly earlier on. I don't want to see him take Ron Hextall's group that he's built and all of a sudden do something with it. I don't think that's morally just for this to go right for them, because Ron Hextall put a plan in place. He followed it, and we like the roster. We do. It on paper, it looks great. And I don't think I don't want to see them do well. I'm not gonna lie, and I don't feel bad about that. So I think just bottom out, suck, and maybe trade Wayne Simmons to the Leafs and see what happens. I don't know, but
that would be awesome.
Oh, I would love that so much. And why not do it, right? For the Leafs, I mean. But
if you add him, I don't know how. Defenseman, then I think you have salary issues.
Yeah.
So if you're going on the hierarchy here of needs, it's defense.
Yeah.
But if they could somehow make it happen, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. But Nick, I have one more question for you. One more surprise question.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. You told me from the top you had a surprise. So what do you got here up your sleeve?
What is your favorite front runner name for the new Seattle team?
Oh.
There's a couple different options out there. People are throwing around the Seattle Sockeyes, the Totems, the Metropolitans, which is ridiculous. I've heard Steelheads, but I don't think they can do that. I know my pick. Yes, you can have Steelheads on there, sure. Oh, Seattle Emeralds, maybe. I've heard that out there.
I don't know. Lame. I like something along the lines of I like what they're going for in all those names. I like how it's got to be tailored to the Pacific Coast.
Yes,
it's got to be tailored to the colors of like an emerald or like a blue or an aqua or a green. Stuff like that. I don't know.
Seattle Sasquatch.
That's a great name.
You know who came up with that?
Who came up with that?
Bob McKenzie. He went off the board on the quiz. He went off the board and said, "Give me Seattle Sasquatch." And I was like, "That's it. That's got to be the name. That's ridiculously good."
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
That seems ridiculous. It sounds great, but it seems ridiculous. They get chirped the fuck by all the other 31 teams in the league.
No. Why?
Sure they would. I don't know. It just sounds like a joke. It's like
no.
Tonight we have the Vegas Golden Knights against the Seattle Sasquatch.
Well, when you say it like that
on a telecast, that just sounds awkward.
Come on, it sounds fun.
I don't know. I'm a basketball junkie. Give me the Seattle Supersonics. Let's bring the Supersonics back. How about that?
Wait a minute. Is that even allowed?
I don't know. Maybe the team's dead. Maybe there's no trademark. Maybe they have the rights as a city. I don't know. I know they can't just call themselves the Whalers because I know Carolina still has those rights. But I don't know. I'll have to look into that. What the rule is with other teams and other sports.
All right, Nick, on that note, it's time for me to play some pond hockey, finally. We've got a nice rink here in Newmarket that's open every single day, every single night, so I'm really fired up.
Enjoy, and it sounds like you should let some aggression out because I'm looking at Boston and Montreal, and it's your Canadians have lost 4-0.
No,
and Yarrow Halak, who you bet, is about to get a shutout. So,
oh my God,
kudos to you.
Fuck, Nick. Thanks a lot for ruining my night. I wasn't gonna look until after.
That's me applauding in the background.
Oh my God.
Well done, Kyle. Great managing there.
Well, what did you want me to do? All I can do is have faith in my team.
Meanwhile, Price gets lit up for 4.
Lit up, and then
That's sad. That's just sad.
Casey DeSmith loses as well. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
What? Oh, whatever, man. I'm done.
Well, on that note, it seems Kyle is out of commission here and has dropped the mic. And on that note, we're going to sign off here on our episode 20, a historic episode 20. And until next time, have a fantastic week. And we will see you guys next week.